is Giovanna Avila, and I'm a Sergeant First Class in the United States Army.
My name is Noelle Dacre, and I am a Staff Sergeant in the United States Army.
My name's Sergeant Nathan Wallen.
My name is Sergeant Garrett Paulson.
I am stationed in Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm part of the Columbia Recruiting Battalion.
I am stationed in Appleton, Wisconsin.
I'm currently stationed in Savannah, Georgia, so right on the coast.
So I'm stationed at Bain Jones Army Community Hospital. Bain Jones Army Community Hospital in Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Right now, my current job is 79 Romeo, which is a recruiter for the Army. So I recruit the best qualified and talented young ladies and gentlemen for the United States Army. But prior to that, I was human resources, where I dealt a lot with paperwork for the Army for soldiers.
So my specific job right now is a recruiter. So I recruit all over the state of Wisconsin. Outside of recruiting, I am a transportation coordinator. So I coordinate all movements from dealing with the boats to the trains to the ground movement for vehicles and airplanes.
It's called an MOS. It's 11 Bravo, so it's an infantryman.
I'm a 68 Whiskey combat medic or healthcare specialist, depending on who you talk to. So right now in the hospital, I actually help run a clinic for primary care, so military spouses, children, things like that. But previously, when I was with the 82nd Airborne Division, I ran around with guys like Sergeant Warren here, and ran around with the infantry guys. I was embedded with them. I did everything they did, with the added aspect of having to take care of them medically if they were to get hurt, sick, etc.
My greatest strength, I would think, is being able to communicate with people and building relationships.
So my greatest strength, honestly, is probably overcoming the fear of being where I am today.
Greatest strength is adaptability. Being able to do what others need me to do and not giving too much fuss about it and getting things done. So
I think similar to him, adaptability is huge, especially in the military. So my adaptability, it's up there. And I think my leadership ability is also a pretty good strength. So these competitions that we kind of came from that got us to be with you guys, I had a team of all MedCom soldiers, including myself, right? Only one of them had ever been outside of MedCom. So I had a lot of people on my team that didn't have the experience that I had with the field, with things that we were doing in the competitions, but I was still able to keep us in a highly competitive state to where we finished just kind of outside of where we wanted to be. So I think leadership and adaptability are huge.
I handle stress and pressure by prioritizing.
Stress and pressure, it comes and it goes, but I deal with it. I deal with it in a different way. I think about what I can do to better myself and what I can do to better others, and that helps me.
I handle stress and pressure by realizing that I am not the only one that has to do tasks. I have people to my left and my right that I can rely on to help share that workload. So not all the stress is on me.
So I handle stress and pressure in the gym because I think strengthening my body is going to in turn strengthen my mind. I can put in headphones, block everything out, put my phone on do not disturb, and just kind of focus on what I'm doing there. And that helps me work through some of the mental challenges that come with being in the military.
No, I did not.
Honestly, I've never thought I've even joined the Army as a kid.
So growing up, I didn't have a military family, so I wanted to join the Army because I played video games and I saw movies and stuff, but I didn't end up joining the Army until I was 24 years old. So I fulfilled my college baseball dreams, and then joining the Army was a way that gave me another sense of purpose. So didn't want to join it as a kid, but I didn't not want to join. It was always an option.
So I'm going to be honest, I did not. My parents were both Army. My sister, when I was in high school, my sister was in ROTC for the Air Force. So she was about to commission. There was not a lot in me that said like military sounded cool at all. So I spent a few years outside of high school, after high school, working in different places in different career fields. And I actually came to a point where I wanted some more structure and discipline in my life, and I wanted something where I had to stay for a specific amount of time. Civilian jobs, you can get hired on Monday and quit on Friday, and there's no repercussion. In the Army, once you're in, that's 4 years or 5 years or whatever you enlisted for, and that's kind of what I wanted.
I wanted to join the Army because I have two younger brothers, so it's three of us, and I'm the oldest, so I didn't want my parents to pay for my college. I didn't want to get any student loans for college. So after speaking to a recruiter, I knew that the Army would be able to pay for my education, so that's why I joined.
So I had two options. My parents brought the Army recruiter to my house for free college or to go straight into the workforce. I'd never planned on going to college, but I'm glad that my parents pushed me to be where I am today.
The camaraderie. After playing college baseball, I kind of missed being part of a team, part of a group of people that shared the same kind of mindset and drive. I was working as an electrician, and I was just feeling a little bit unfulfilled with my life. Not in a bad way, but just I knew that I had more to offer than making money and just kind of working day to day doing the same thing. And the Army offered me an opportunity to go pursue that.
The Air Force wouldn't accept me because I had too many tattoos, actually. So I went to the Air Force recruiter first. They were like, hey, you got too many tattoos. Come back whenever the policy changes. And when I came back with my ASVAB scores, they asked to look at it and they offered me a waiver. But they had already kind of cut that tie. So the Army it was, and I've never looked back. There's no regret with not going with them. I love what I do in the Army. I think it was the best choice for me.
I joined the Army 17 years ago. So I was expecting it to be hard and difficult, and that was my first time going away from home from my parents, and it was just that.
I expected the Army to be hard and difficult, but it's not.
I did a lot of research before I joined the Army, actually. So I joined at 24. I had a lot of mentors who were in the Army, in the job that I wanted to do. So I was expecting to do the job that I'm actually doing, being able to shoot guns and jump out of planes and stuff. I knew kind of what I was going to get myself into.
So I didn't have a ton of expectation coming in with both of my parents being prior enlisted. I kind of knew what their experience was, but I knew that mine would be different, considerably different. So when I went to the 82nd, the only thing I really expected was to jump out of planes. I did that. I deployed with them. I did a lot of cool things with them. And I kind of learned that not expecting anything from the military was kind of the most enjoyable route, I guess.
I remember swearing in. Don't forget, this is like 16 years ago. I remember swearing in, and I remember my parents being really happy and excited for me. And then the same day, I dodged my recruiter because I was like, oh, maybe this is not the thing for me. But I'm glad I joined.
11 years ago, the day I enlisted. I was happy, I was scared, terrified, overwhelmed, but I'm glad that I made the right decision.
I was enlisted on July 24th, 2020.
I enlisted on September 11th, 2017, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember much. I think it was an early morning, probably got up at like 4 a.m. to go to MEPS and do all the contract stuff, and then I raised my hand and I went back to the hotel, and I think I left the next day, maybe even that day.
Honestly, I did not even know there was other branches. The Army was the first people to talk to me, so that's who I went with.
Like I said before, the Army was the only branch that I talked to, but I always give advice to other kids. Make sure you talk to all the military branches. Don't just go for the Army or the Navy or the Marines or the Air Force. Make sure you make a good decision and talk to all the branches before you pick just one.
The Army had the job that I'm specifically looking for. I joined to be part of the 75th Ranger Regiment. Kind of special operations was the route that I wanted my career to take. I did a lot of research, and being in the 75th Ranger Regiment comes with being part of the Army. and so that's what drove me to join the Army.
Well, they were, the recruiting office was the most welcoming between obviously the Air Force. You know, they were pretty quick to be like, hey, you can't join. The Army had none of that. You know, their policy was a little more open and welcoming. But my recruiter was really good at working with me on finding the job I wanted, finding something that suited me well, and then getting me out quickly. I wanted to leave pretty quick when I was enlisting, so he got me out in, I think, 42 days, which was perfect. It's exactly what I was looking for.
It was difficult for me because I didn't play sports. I didn't do anything in high school. So when I joined, it was a little bit difficult for me. But going into basic training, you start from the bottom up. So it's not like they expect you to know or be the greatest at everything right away. So they built me up to where I needed to be.
It was not difficult for me to meet the physical requirements because I was an athlete in high school.
Like I said, I did a lot of research before I joined the Army, and I had a little bit of time. I gave myself about a year before I joined. So I took that time to physically prepare myself. So when I got there, the physical demands weren't too hard for me because I did previous preparation.
Not necessarily. I think the one thing you can't prepare for at basic, like you can run all you want, you can do all the push-ups and sit-ups you want prior to coming in, and you're going to excel on the PT test initially maybe. But the one thing about basic that you're not going to prepare yourself for unless you want to do a bunch of push-ups randomly throughout the day is like the amount of time you're going to spend doing PT. Because if you're standing in line to do something and someone like steps out of that line, now everyone's doing push-ups for 5 minutes, or now everyone's doing burpees or whatever. So you're kind of constantly PTing in basic. And I don't think there's really a way to actually prepare to do that all day for 8 weeks.
Yes.
I did during basic training. I definitely wanted to quit because drill sergeants were always in my face and yelling, and I never expected that, but I overcame that, and here I am today, 11 and a half years later. So
I knew what my goal was when I joined, and I did a lot of searching within myself to realize that that's what I wanted to do. So once I got there, there was never a doubt that I wanted to quit because all I wanted to do was fulfill the goal I set for myself.
Yeah, so I was, when I came back, kind of after my deployment, right before I re-enlisted actually, I was very adamant that I was getting out. So very adamant that I was getting out. I couldn't actually figure out why I was getting out or what I was going to do when I got out. So I was on leave, and I called my retention officer, and I was like, hey, if you can get me a medcom, I'll stay in. And they got me a medcom slot, so I re-enlisted on like my 3rd day of leave. But at that point, like the day before that, if you ask me, there was no way that was going to happen. So it just kind of changed. It worked out for the better. Probably staying in for a while now at this point. So
The best thing about being in the Army is being able to travel all over the world.
So the best thing about being in the Army is being able to support my family, traveling around the world, college, free college, obtaining my bachelor's degree, all for free.
Going back to how I deal with stress, the best thing about being in the Army is the people to my left and my right. I joined because I wanted to kind of serve alongside the people that I worked with, people who share the same mindset, and being in the job that I'm in the Army, the people that are like me joined to do the same thing. So serving with them is what the best part is for me.
I think it's the camaraderie, like he alluded to. Doing high school sports, you know, you have this team mentality that you're not going to find most places in the civilian sector. Even with the jobs I had previous to the Army, you don't really have that. You're never really in the leadership positions that either of us are in within the military, and you don't create those bonds. You know, there's a difference between seeing someone 9 to 5 every day for 4 years. You're not going to know them nearly as well as the guy that you went overseas with for 9 months, and he's he slept in the bunk right next to you. You know everything about him. And I don't care if you're married or have a girlfriend, what you know more about that guy than you know about your significant other pretty quickly. So I think that's kind of the best part, is you build these lifelong friendships and relationships, and it's awesome.
My favorite aspect is being able to afford the same opportunities that my recruiter gave to me many years ago to others.
So my favorite aspect of what I do is helping people and guiding people, making sure that they choose the right career paths for their future.
Favorite aspect of what I do is mm, it's problem solving. I like the problem solving because the word problem solving kind of encompasses a lot for me. It allows me to be a leader when others don't want to be a leader. But I get to shoot guns, so I need to learn how the guns work. I get to jump out of planes, so I need to learn how the parachute works, the procedures for jumping out of the plane. Um, I need to learn how night vision works because I use night vision a lot. I need to learn how to drive like M Razors, ATVs, mini bikes because that's part of my job too. But all that is problem solving for me because I have to learn how things work and then be able to apply them with my job.
So I like specifically being a medic. We are so adaptable to different situations. So I can, go try out to go to the 75th Ranger Regiment. And, if I make it, I could be plugged straight into his platoon. And now I'm doing everything he does plus the medicine. I can go back to any infantry battalion and be in charge of 3 medics within a infantry company. I can be in charge of, a whole treatment squad, a whole evacuation squad, or I can go in a hospital and work in the ER and take care of, whatever trauma comes in that day. I can branch out more, go be a flight medic, so get paramedic certified, and then just run around in helicopters and pick people up that are injured. So really being a medic in the Army, you have so much opportunity to do different things within that realm that is a little bit different. I think it's a little bit broader than most MOSs. Most MOSs have kind of one mission. In the medical world, we have a lot. We have a lot to do.
The food at the DFAC is better. It's better. I mean, it's good food.
Food is okay.
It's not great, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not great. But there is this thing you can apply for called BAS, Basic Allowance for Stipend, I believe it's called, and sustenance, Basic Allowance for Sustenance. And the Army will allow you to put in paperwork, so they give you money, so you don't have to eat the Army food. You can go and buy your own food. So that's what I applied for.
So I've been fortunate enough to have BAS most of my career. So I haven't dealt with DFACs a lot. The DFACs overseas when you're deployed are not bad. They take care of you. They have like crab every once in a while. It's great. But generally, like in basic training, it's not great, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to taste it. You just have to eat it.
I do enjoy my job. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy about it though, is the danger aspect. But it's the fact that I get to be dangerous with my friends. There's some bad people out there, and sometimes they need dangerous people to take care of them. So that's what I enjoy.
So I do. And actually, in MedCom, working in the clinic, I'm kind of taking a step back from that right now. I'm not in necessarily a position where I deploy to a place of great danger, not necessarily in the front like he would. But I did enjoy, in the 82nd, being embedded with the infantry for so long, doing all of their live fire missions, their training exercises. That was a lot of fun. It built a lot of that camaraderie, and it sharpened my tool set enough that now, even within MedCom, even though that's not necessarily what I do on a day-to-day basis, I can take groups of soldiers out and teach them those things so that when they eventually go to a different unit, they're ready for that as well.
Well, now that we are not in war or conflict, when we were and I deployed, I did my job as a human resources specialist. So I processed paperwork for all the soldiers, but instead of here at home, I did it in Afghanistan.
So if I am ever deployed, and I've been deployed 3 times, I coordinate movements. So when I was on my last deployment, I coordinated movements from Iraq into Syria using the Apaches and the helicopters and what was given to me. That's how I coordinated movements, getting people and equipment from point A to point B.
I signed up to do. I do my job. So I can't really go into the specifics of what I do, but I mean, everything that I do in training is what I'm training to do for my job. So jumping out of planes, shooting guns, being a leader, things like that.
So again, it all depends on the mission set that's given. I could be with them even without being in the 75th. If they need a medic for something and we're at the same base, they can say, hey, we need a medic, and whoever's in charge of me can say, hey, take Paulson. So I could go out with them. I can go out with the regular infantry guys, we're adaptable to what we're doing. We'll set up small trauma hospitals kind of behind everything that's going on and perform minor procedures in order to get people back to the rear.
Well, before I left, I imagined deployment as a war zone, right? But being over there, I knew that what we did over there was exactly what we did here, but just I performed my duties in a different environment.
Honestly, I've heard stories about it being good, and that's what I realized that it would be. We are all in the safe place on where I was, so it was great.
So I have a real interesting story. The first time I deployed, I thought I was going to be confident. I thought I did enough training to be the man I thought I would be when I got into the situations I'd get in. Once I got there, though, I was like, dang, I wish I did a little bit more training. I wish I did a little bit more practice. I wish I wouldn't have played so many video games or stayed up so many nights doing things. So I thought I was going to be super confident and ready to go. I was confident in my skills and my job, but I just wasn't as confident as I thought I would be when I got there. So, but I wasn't not confident. I was confident, but you're just untested. I think that's the right word for it.
I didn't really have much preconceived about deployment. I had seen all the movies and all those things going on. So I kind of imagined it being a little bit like that. And where I was deployed, it was not. It was pretty okay. It was working a lot of hours, doing things that seemed relatively mundane, but were still very important. So getting those things done, spending a lot of time with the people you were deployed with. I mean, we had like a movie theater outside basically that we set up amongst our own stuff, so we watched like every movie you could name when we had time, and just kind of hung out, did our training, and made sure the job was done.
They treated us with respect, and you can tell that they were very like we were special. We were special to them, so they treated us with respect and dignity, and we built good camaraderie with other people.
So we have a good relationship with other countries. We train with them. We teach them everything that we have to teach them, and then they also teach us everything that we need to know with their country as well. So it's very good relationships that we have.
With respect, so being in the U.S. Army, there's an air of respect there. Everybody realizes what we do. Everybody realizes what we're capable of. So there's respect, but they appreciate what we bring to the table. We work with their partner forces, and they work with us, and we all make each other better. So it's respect and appreciation from us to them, and from them to us. So we appreciate everybody that we get to have an opportunity to interact with.
It's with respect, but that comes down to how you treat them upon like your initial contact, because you might be the first American soldier they've ever had to interact with, or they've ever gotten to interact with. If you come at them with any level of disrespect, you have to imagine it's going to be met with the same level. So I've learned throughout life, really, however much respect you give to somebody else, they're generally going to reflect it. I haven't met very many people in life that if you treat them incredibly respectfully, that they're going to come at you sideways. And it's the same with foreign nationals and